Sponsored by the Dunleary Rattown Local Enterprise Office. You're listening to Business Eye on Dublin South FM.
Yes, folks, and welcome to another Friday, another Business Eye in lovely South County Dublin. Yes, we've got a lovely growing audience in Dublin, and we have a bigger audience tuning in online around the country and around the world. We're being tapped into by 100 countries, all those expats listening to Simon's sweet voice. Simon's sweet voice. How are you, Simon? How are you today?
I'm good. I'm conscious there's people around the world listen to us, so I'll be behaved. But no, it's great. The show is getting accolades. We're an Apple Top 30 podcast, and we've had guests from the States and the UK, New Zealand, Australia, obviously mainly from Ireland, and the word is getting out there. And we're very ambitious about businesseyeadvisory.com, which we'll talk more about later, and the free, the live shows and the Facebook stuff, but it all builds out of this show, Joe. Which is exciting.
It does. It's, as you know, Business Eye is the flagship of Dublin South FM radio as well. The show itself has been going way before you and me got on the scene. I think when we were little boys.
When you were in shorts.
We were in shorts. And Business Eye, it's about, keeping your eye on business and learning and discussing. And you and me talk about multiple of subjects. And, there's no badness in anything that we talk about. It's from the heart. And, with this season, what we really want to do is help business owners. And if you're a business owner, or if you're someone who's an entrepreneur or wanted to start a business, or you're a CEO, whoever it may be, it's sort of tapping in and listening to other people and listening to their conversations, and there might be something there that might spark you or give you an idea. Because there's one thing Simon and I have learned: more heads make light work. And a business person or a CEO sitting in an office on his own trying to figure something out, and he might hear something from our show, and it might give him an idea, and he's got it for free.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I talk about collaborate, innovate. It's a lonely place being a CEO and an entrepreneur. And, I think it's best to be part of a group, to be part of a network, and really share as much as you can and help each other. And that's really, our driver here. Of course, it's a commercial program, but we genuinely, both of us want to help. You've received help in life. I've received help, and help is a big thing. I don't think people ask for help, so we're offering it.
It's asking for help, and also having the courage to step up and do what needs to be done as well.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, that's a good point as well. We were talking about this before. Don't expect others to do the work for you. If you're an entrepreneur, it's not easy. Sometimes it can be really tough. And business development is called business development. It's not called business success. It's constantly a process of development, which means you have to put in the work. So you have to step up, but you need a framework, and it's often helpful to get that framework from others.
You remember the days when you were starting off your own business, and I do as well. And remember there was that stuff that you hated doing?
Yeah.
And you'd always say, I'd love not to be doing that. Yeah. Unfortunately, those things you have to do.
They never go away.
They never go away. But they never go away. And the reason why they never go away is because they remind you. No, but it's getting other people, like if, staff in or whoever, to help with that. But you have to do the stuff that see what you like and what you don't like.
Yeah.
And what would you say are the three major things that a business needs for it to be successful? Cash flow.
Well,
one.
Cash flow definitely one. Always watch your cash. Always make sure that what's coming in is more than what's going out, and be ruthless about it. I mean, I'm ruthless about it. I monitor. I wouldn't say I'm tight, but I've got very careful with money. Because somebody said this to me a long time ago. It's it's comparatively easy to make $1 million. I wish, but it's much easier to lose that $1 million, and it's very easy to lose money and to spend it. So I think keep tight control over your finances. Number one. Number two is don't sit back, constantly review what you're doing and look at competitors and look at your landscape and strategize. And so that would be the two main ones. And I guess the third one then is look after your own mindset. Don't take yourself for granted. Without you, there is no business. So manage your cash, constantly strategize, but be prepared to be flexible and look after yourself. There's lots of others, but they're the first three that come to my head.
It's it's great advice I've learned over the years, and something that I gave myself later on. And if I had taken this advice in the very beginning, it would have been different. And that was spend wisely. Really and truly spend wisely. That's the thing. In any company starting off, it's spend wisely. People want to build the best of everything, but it's actually spend wisely. And the other one thing that the second thing for me then is be known how to sell. Because a lot of people...
Can I hear your dog tap dancing in the background?
Yeah, he's clapping around. He's
that adds to the spice of the show.
He's now... I was going to throw a shoe at him.
He's tap dancing.
Sales, being able to sell. There's lots of people out there who develop a product and they need to think they need to tweak it before they can sell, and then they need to add another tweak. And that is just a mindset, as you said, where they need to go and sell on it as well. And business, any business, I don't care what it is, what I've used, you have your product, you have your customers, and it's all about building that responsible bridge between both. And I think when that's the sweet spot, when a company figures out the bridge between what its offer is and what its clients are, that's when it opens up. And that bridge I call... it's clarity, it's investment in yourself, it's everything on it. And once that's cracked, I think a business will flourish then as well.
What about coping with tough times? I mean, can you think of a time when you went, from a business perspective, when you went through a tough time or you had self-doubt or things were difficult? And how did you get through it? Because people like to hear examples. How did you get through it? What did you do?
I think for me it was when I had a genetics company and I put about 70,000 into that, and that was a product which was way ahead before anybody else, and the price was high because it was gold standard product, and the bigger companies came in, and that's what I really learned, that large organizations are ruthless. Because they came in and they hurt us and they tried everything to discredit us, and I even seen nasty stuff. And what I learned from it was, don't get too involved in something. And the second thing that I learned as well, best to talk about your situation with other people who are your peers, because by doing that, you then are able to deal with. And the third thing that I learned from it, that's outside here. Doesn't matter. It's all irrelevant. It's excuse my language to our listeners. It's what's inside your head. And being able to then step out, make decisions instead of panicking, sticking your head in the sand. Because there was, when you put everything into it and you've lost 70 grand and you're swimming in treading water and going, where is this going? It was me. I just stopped and said, done with it. Pushed it all to the side. And from there, I've always learned now is always have a solution to a problem. And that's how I think all the time now, all the time on it. So that's a long, I don't know if that's helpful or I answered your question, Simon.
No, it is. And I'd be the same. I was an investor and an owner of a watch company, and it went belly up in Australia, certainly for me. And my biggest learning was similar, was don't get yourself too invested in it. It was very personal for me, and it became too personal for me. It was an ego thing, an ego trip. And then it's easier then was hard not to bury your head in sand. I was burying the head in my sand and putting more and more money in it, and it was just getting worse. And having said that, I managed to move on. And the biggest learning is be careful about trust. Don't trust yourself first. It's the key thing. Trust yourself first, and don't put your trust in others before you can trust yourself. That was the biggest thing I learned.
Yeah. And look at us. We're still here.
Just about.
We are still here. Just about. Yeah. Look, and have fun. I have fun. You know, life is not about being serious and stressful, and
absolutely.
People worry about the wrong thing. But look, that's what it is. And you know, the thing that I think one of the things that gets me at the moment is the incompetence of a government. That's and you know my opinion on that, and you know, on all sides, everything. It's you know, bad decisions after bad decisions after bad decisions, and and the more that you look into it, the more that you see this. So that's the one thing that
I was just hearing about that dreaded children's hospital the other day, and have you noticed nobody's been talking about this, whether it's now 2 billion or 10 billion. Nobody's actually talking about it anymore, but I wouldn't be surprised if the price is much higher than they even owned up to last time.
That should have been built out by the M50 on some piece of land out there.
Tala, Blanchardstown Way, easy access.
People could get on the M50, drive in. Yeah, you know, instead of saying now, oh, they park here and then they get a shuttle bus in, you know,
or a helicopter or a speedboat,
or you know, and they got consultants in and advisors in, you know, because no one in the civil servant can make a decision, so they get these in and it escalated. That was, you know, that's the biggest con ever. That the money and you know, it's another tribunal we'll have on that. You know?
Oh, thank heavens the politicians don't run the good Irish company. I mean, there's some really good Irish companies, the Kerrys, the Smurfits, the Kingspans, and plenty of others, Blombiers. Thank God the politicians aren't involved in them.
Yes.
Yes, well, I was going to say hopefully.
Yes. Well, as I say, you're a politician, you're allowed to be bashed. That's part of it.
Yeah, you put yourself out there.
We're going to take a quick break, and then myself and Simon are going to meet our guest, who is a author and a established businessman as well. So we're going to come right back, tell you who he is, and we'll see you in a second.
Sponsored by the Dún Laoghaire Rattown Local Enterprise Office. You're listening to Business Eye on Dublin South FM.
And welcome, folks, back to Business Eye. As we say, it's Friday. Simon was sharing some words of wisdom with us there before the break. And now we are back with our guest, a drum roll. Simon, who have we got today?
Well, we've got somebody whose book I've recently seen in the shop by the name of John Williams. He's coming to us from London, UK. He's best-selling author of FUC Work, Let's Play. You can fill in the gaps there. And his W.H. Smith Business Book of the Month, again, which I've seen. He's founder of the Ideas Lab, which helps people create a business they love. He helps people turn their ideas and expertise into number one businesses, books, and brands. He's author of 3 best-selling books, not just 1, but 3, translated into 10 languages. So right up the street for our guests, and also our businesseyeadvisory.com members as well. So this will be a great chat, Joe. And welcome, John. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
John, do you know what caught me of your, when I was on LinkedIn, when I'm sort of looking to see what guests we pick, it was that lovely smile with that red cup in your hand. And I said, that is different. And it stopped me in my tracks. And here we are today. And then I looked, where you also talk about, we talk about banner blindness, John, and we talk about everyone is putting something up. And you put up on it, the word which was fook, which I would say, work, let's play. And I've always believed as well that work should be fun. Life should be fun. We shouldn't be stressed out. And this is what we were talking about before you came on with myself and Simon, that there's elements of life and there's elements of business, and people can get caught up in it too much. How do you, float in your lovely domain each and every day, and what got you to realize this as well?
Well, you want the heavy answer. I mean, my dad died when I was 6 months old, and it kind of, it's a pretty serious wake up call to happen right at the start of your life. And so I was always aware that we never know how long we've got. I outlived my father by 20 years now, in terms of age, and so I'm not doing too badly, but we never know how long we got, so we might as well do what we really want to do. And I don't pretend that every moment of my working life is unbridled joy. It's not really about that. It's about doing something that feels meaningful and exciting, even when it's challenging, and something that really suits my personality. And this is what I always, I help people to do in my business. How do you create a business that suits you so well it kind of fits like a glove? So both the marketing and whatever it is that the business does, as much as you're involved in it, is the kind of stuff you would do for fun as much as possible. So, if I won a lottery tomorrow, I would still be writing books. I'd still be reading really interesting books. I'd be posting on social media. I'd be talking about, like, if a friend ever gets me at a cafe and says, "Oh, I've got this idea for a book or a business or whatever it is," I go, "Oh, brilliant, you could do this. And if you did this, now I could connect to this person." And then, like, if you call it this, you'll immediately get press. And they'll go, like, they're almost a little bit like, "All right, calm down. It's just an idea." And so I do that for fun, even if I'm not getting paid. But the good thing is I've created a business where I get paid very well for that. That's my model that I'm trying to share with the world.
That's spot on. I mean, Joe and I are similar. I mean, I'll be happy to do what I'm doing for the rest of my life. I don't think I'm ever going to retire, John. I think I'll just stop, right? And so I love creating training programs and the media stuff and coaching, consulting, and writing. And so, do you think it's about matching do you think it's about alignment, matching who you are with how you feel, with what you want to do, and having that strong sense of awareness, that alignment thing? Do you think it's about alignment?
That's a really good word. Yeah. And I'm thinking more and more that is what it's about. It's about, making, there's all sorts of different ways to market a business. There's all sorts of different ways of making money. So why not choose one that just aligns with your natural personality? I mean, if you're a massive technical geek or something, create a business that involves using your massive geekiness and your giant brain, and you don't have to do very much social media. But if you're a bit of a show off, or you like teaching people, or you like working with people, build your business around that. And I think the problem with traditional careers advice is we're sort of, you show some ability in something, people go, "Oh, well, you should inevitably be a doctor then." Well, you might not want to be a doctor. There might be something else you can do in the world which would suit you way better, but use your passion for science or understanding the world or whatever it might be. I think that's right. And the key to the book is, it's not necessarily like, can you make a living? If you love writing poetry, can you make a living out of that? Well, there are people who make a living out of poetry. It's really, really, some things are undoubtedly really hard. Art, music, novels, poetry are probably some of the hardest things to make a living out of.
It's interesting, John. And just, there's two things that just popped up there. One is, as we go through life, we meander. Like, one day we might love one thing, and 5 years later we might love something else. Yeah. And for me, the one thing that I do love in life, and Simon will agree on this as well, I love talking, and I'm curious, and I love reading. Like, I read multiple books. I get to speak to people like yourself all around the world. That's my passion.
Yeah.
My other passion as well, which I'm learning now, is growing vegetables in the garden and being amazed by planting something and, oh, look, now I'm eating it. But that's the hobby. And it's a hobby because if I tried to make money out of it, I'd be living somewhere in a cave because it wouldn't work. Do you know that way? So there's a saying, people say, "Oh, you can make money out of your hobby." And I believe you can't really, because it's a hobby. You know, and and do you understand what I'm trying to get at?
True. And you don't, so I'm being very realistic, and the book is a very realistic book. There is a whole, if you think of a Venn diagram, there's a whole bunch of things you love doing. There's a whole bunch of things you are good at. And there's a whole bunch of things people are motivated to pay money for. And what you're trying to find is there will normally be at least one thing, if not multiple things, that is the intersection of those three sets, to speak in mathematical terms, those three circles. You imagine the Venn diagram. And so you're going for that thing in the middle. And yeah, it might be, if you try to make money out growing vegetables, it's just like you say, it might doom you to poverty. But you've got this other thing you actually love doing anyway, which is talking, and you can actually do that and get paid really well for it.
Yeah, I love selling. And for me, it's not even selling anymore. It's the passion of something, of helping other people on it. Yeah. And it's, as as a sales trainer and being in sales, like I realized when everyone else wanted to go on into college, like I went into computer programming and I was sitting down typing, learning programming, MS-DOS, as you'll probably remember, and the lecturer coming up and going, "What do you think of this? It's brilliant." And I looked at him with a look of horror on my face and went, "No, I cannot do this," because I knew at that age it was selling that I wanted to get into. And evolving from that, it's about the navigation of maybe knowing when someone has bought before they even have realized they've purchased. That's something that I love, and that's my life now. Yeah,
it's. I mean, I've just been teaching selling, I've been running a 3-day workshop for people who follow me, and selling is how to sell ethically. In a way where you're just asking questions.
Yeah,
is a really great skill, and it appeals to people. It's very undervalued. It's got a bad name, sales.
Yeah,
but it's a brilliant skill. It has a lot to do with psychology and actually caring about people, because good sales is asking questions rather than telling people stuff.
Yeah. John, do you think this alignment or awareness we've mentioned inevitably requires you to be a little bit older or to have lived life? And what I mean by that is, for me, I'm doing the stuff I love doing now, but I don't think I would have been doing it 20 years ago in my 30s, because somebody said to me recently, we're born authentic. And then in our teens, 20s, 30s, when life gets really busy, we move from authentic to a life of expectation. We're worried about what other people think and how much is in our bank and what we think of ourselves. And so we end up for that 20s, 30s, 40s period working for somebody else. And it tends to be when you get to around the 50 mark, you kind of think, maybe I need to go back to that authentic self. Yeah. Does that resonate with you? Because it has for me.
No, absolutely. And I think, but if the older, I saw this funny sort of meme that said, it was an elderly person in the picture. And it said, like, increasingly as I get old, a thought crosses my mind. Should I say that? And I think, oh, that's not going to go down well. And then I say it anyway.
Yeah.
And I think that does happen as you get older. And
Victor Meldrew springs to mind.
or Curb Your Enthusiasm, Larry David.
Oh, Larry David, that's excellent.
But the good version of that is that what's interesting is the people we really love these days, and it's always contentious who I choose an example, because for every person who loves someone, there's someone who hates them. But the very charismatic, powerful figures in the world today are often very authentic. So if you think of Elon Musk, right? I mean, he's a bit of a hero of mine. Some people might hate it. It doesn't really matter. But he's a very powerful figure, not just for what he's achieved, but the fact that he looks like he's not faking it. He says stuff that gets him into trouble on Twitter. He just says, even when I disagree with him, I kind of respect the fact that he's saying what he wants to say. If you think of Russell Brand, he kind of told you he's an addict. He told you he was addicted to sex, addicted to kind of drugs and alcohol, whatever it might be. And people love him more than more for it. Now, some people might hate him, but every time you're a real person, you divide an audience, which is a good thing. Some people will dislike you and some people will like you even more. What most of us are doing is this blanded out version you talked about, Simon, where you get into a corporate environment and you lock down your personality.
Exactly.
And nobody really knows who you are. And that modern entrepreneurship really benefits from the willingness to be yourself. And you don't have to be deliberately contentious or anything if you don't want to be. Some people like that, some people don't. but just be a bit more authentic than you used to be, a bit more authentic than most people are on LinkedIn, for instance.
That's really well put. I've never heard anybody put it that well, because I was in the corporate world for 20 odd years, and you're almost like a zombie version of yourself. You're blanked out. And our mutual friend, Scott Ballard, Joe, he said to me, he's a confidence coach from America, and he said, success never lies in the middle. And I asked him what he meant, and exactly what you said. Once you start getting a growth trajectory, don't expect everybody to like you, but that's actually a good sign.
Yeah. And so many people are willing, I don't know what swear words I can use, but I'm working with a client at the moment who wants to help women who've come out of really bad abusive relationships and finally find good partners. And I said, why don't you call it No More B Word? And if I can say that, you can just tell me. It begins with BA. And it was like you finally want to find yourself a good guy rather than all these people you've been going out with. And I said, look, I'll share this and see what people make of it. And some people really took offense to it and said it's man-hating. Some of the women said it was man-hating stuff. And I kind of know why it's contentious, but it suits what she's doing and it suits her personality. She's a very straight-talking person, and she doesn't hate men at all. And she wants to help women have good relationships with men. So if you're willing to take a little bit of friction from people, it really pays off, because everyone wants to talk about this course called No More B-Word.
Can you give us any sense of, you obviously talk about this stuff in your book, but what other things? Because I haven't read it. I've just written it down. There's my fifth book I need to buy. I'll probably buy it next week. What other kind of things do you talk about?
In the book? So I talk about things like, one of the, related to what you're saying is sometimes people just don't know what they want to do. So the first chapter is how to work out what you really, really want, which is named after the Spice Girls, of course, those philosophical geniuses. And then it goes on to like, how do you actually make a choice? Because I meet a lot of people who are what's known as scanners. So this is a term invented by a US author called Barbara Sher. And a scanner is somebody who has lots of ideas, lots of interests, loves learning things for the sake of learning, but doesn't want to go too deep into most of those topics. They learn the fundamentals and then they move on. And it seems like all these things are completely unrelated. And I'm a scanner, which is why I'm interested in this topic. I used to run events for scanners in London. And how do you choose when there's 1,000 different things you want to do? So that's one of the topics I get into. And one of the rules is to realize that not everything needs to be a lifelong business. You can launch a project, follow it through to completion. And I'm talking here about 30-day play projects in the book. So you can try it out for 30 days, produce something, put it out into the world. Say, if somebody wants to be a DJ, try doing a podcast where you put out 4 episodes in 30 days and you ship it out to the world. You learn all about podcasts, you learn about audio, you have fun with it, you interview some interesting people. At the end of 30 days, you can call it quits if you want to. But if you're loving it and other people are enjoying it, maybe it's one of the things you want to take on and grow it until it actually becomes a business.
It's interesting as well, because I think I'm a scanner. I delve into everything. I'm my bookshelf. Like at the moment, I'm reading a book on, solar panels, energy, gardening. I've won on electronics. I've won on spirituality. I'm reading all the time, and it's like I'm absorbing all the stuff and can't get enough on it. And so going back to what you were saying about in your 30s when you're doing this, I think it was all about ego and pride when we were all around the water cooler and we were mimicking what other people were doing because we thought that was what we needed to do to fit in. And with age comes knowledge and wisdom. And when you come up over into your mid 40s and into your 50s, as you said, John, you get to a stage you can say what you want in a way once you're not hurting someone or being mean, and you can get away with it, and you can fog off the old person because anyone in their 20s thinks you're old anyway. You're an old fart anyway. But it comes to the stage now, I think what it is, and I keep talking about this is at the moment, is courage and your own truth, standing in your own shoes.
Yeah.
And taking full responsibility of how you want your life to be moving into the next 30, 40 years.
Yeah, and it becomes more important as you get older because you think, well, this might be my last hurrah or whatever. You don't know. Like I say, no one knows how long they've got. And I feel like we always ought to be doing the thing that feels most meaningful at any time. I mean, it might not necessarily be a work thing. It might be, a family thing or something. But we don't want to just skate through life assuming we're going to live to a ripe old age and somehow, and do what we want in our retirement. I think that's far too long to wait. And some of that does require tuning in to getting to know yourself and knowing what you like. And some people have the challenge that they don't actually know. And they need to just practice tuning into themselves and get closer.
Well, I'll ask you this then. Do you think there's a lot of luck involved, or is it hard work involved with what you're saying about the
both? I think, to produce something really impressive is always going to take effort, which is why it should be a kind of effort on something is enjoyable and exciting for you. But also there's always luck in every business. You look at the billionaires now, a lot of them were lucky. Not all of them. Warren Buffett probably wasn't lucky. But if you look at something like, Mark Zuckerberg, I'm not a massive fan of the man, I have to say, but it's very impressive what he's done with Facebook. And he's made a lot of really, really good decisions and some terrible ones as well. But if he had started Facebook 2 years later, it wouldn't have been the same story. So it was a moment in time. You couldn't start. It would be very, very hard to do what he did now and actually take over from Facebook. Somebody might do it. It's still possible, but it's much, much harder.
Well, it's strange you say that because I'm involved in a project which we are building something similar to Facebook, but it's not going after the masses of what Facebook is. It's picking a niche.
Yeah.
And that niche then is that collective of people who, it's like a Facebook group, but with more options, with more people on it, and looking at that niche and going in. And we're picking it as well because the censorship and all which is coming through on Facebook and blocking it, and that's when we saw that there was a market for it because there's half of America,
and that's how you get into. You can go into a crowded market with very much bigger, more established, more expert players, and you can still carve out a niche for yourself. I talk about super niching, and you can actually, if you're really smart, you can create a new category. So if you super niche down far enough, then you can basically be the first person to specialize in a particular area, and if you succeed, then you become the default option in that area.
Yeah.
So that happened with a client of mine who wanted to be a photographer. She decided instead, she was on a course of mine, she decided instead, following my advice, to become the world's first dating profile photographer. She created a business called Hey Saturday. And it was just a smash hit because she said, I'm not going to photograph your dog or you or your wedding or your company. I'm just the dating profile photographer service. She's now got 15 photographers working under her all over the world, all over the UK and across America. And that's the impact of creating an entire new category, which is what she did. And anyone can do that.
John, Dory Clark has written a great book called Portfolio Entrepreneur. Entrepreneurial You. And it really resonates with me because I'd be what she talks about, a portfolio entrepreneur. So I have bits and pieces of revenue coming in from different things, coaching, consulting, e-learning and stuff. Is that the way of the future, do you think? Do you think more and more people are going to go down this route? That's my first question. The second question is, how do you know when you're juggling all these different balls, if you're a portfolio entrepreneur, which are the ones to go with? Two questions. You reckon that's the future, and which one do you go with?
There's a section on that in the book about portfolio careers, particularly sort of for scanners, and they used an illustration of somebody who did a course of me who teaches ukulele to Google and other companies. And that's her main money earner. But then she does lots of other projects, like she DJs at festivals and things. And the answer is, first of all, yes, I think that is, I open the book by saying you can now create a career, making a living out of almost anything you can think of, and you can be all of who you are. You don't have to hide anything anymore.
That's really well put.
And increasingly, we're seeing people all over social media talk about their side hustles, people who are like fiddling around with crypto and, they're either investing or they're getting involved, they're producing NFTs. When you look at people, I don't know if anyone followed this crazy thing where people was digital artist, it's just a middle-aged guy, and he sold an artwork for $69 million as an NFT, which is this kind of crypto thing. And he started just by he committed to making one image a day forever. And he did it for 14 years. So he created an artwork of some sort. Sometimes the artwork was literally like, I'm going to draw a squiggle. It's like, that's today's artwork because I've got no time. And 14 years later, he put them all into one image and sold it for $69 million as a kind of auction. That was effectively, like a kind of side project that he started as an experiment. So people are going to do this more and more. And what you need to do is make sure that you have one main cash cow that can pay you. So if you have one thing out of all those things that makes money, then you've got freedom to play around with lots of other fun projects, your vegetables and your, playing guitar and whatever else.
There's a barber in County Wicklow in Ireland who has gone from cutting hair to taking his top off and his wife taking photographs of him, and he's making 60 grand a month.
Really? Yeah.
So
so there are ways of making money now that simply didn't exist even 10 years ago.
Yeah, and that's the technology we have, and I honestly believe that thank God for the likes of LinkedIn and that's my dog having a dream there, making those noises. But I think with LinkedIn and Zoom and the way the internet is pushing that, it's a whole new industry. And I built a deck in there last summer in lockdown, and I regret that I didn't videotape every stage of how I built it.
Yeah.
And I built it, and all the equipment I bought out of Aldi to put it together.
Yeah.
If I got guys in, they would have done it in a month, but it took me 3 months because I was doing it on my own and learning. But, you kind of look back at these things and go, I should have recorded that. Other people would have learned from it or whatever on it.
That could have been a hit on YouTube.
Yeah. But there's the other thing, hits. Are some people more eager on the number of hits they get or likes they get? That's quick gratification than actually knowing that the long term, like people will see this show and they go, oh, I would love to do a show like this, but they don't realize that, this show on the radio we've been doing this for 4 years. It's every week, it takes time for stuff to grow.
Yeah. You need to, it's better to play the long game in entrepreneurship and decide that you're going to do something. Occasionally opportunities appear when you can make a quick buck, and there's no reason why, it's ethical. There's no reason why you shouldn't. But those things normally only appear and are visible to people who are in that world already. So choose a career you want to go down, choose a kind of area of business you want to be in, and just indulge yourself in there and get better and better at it. And that will pay off actually faster than trying to suddenly, you're not really interested in crypto, getting into crypto because you think it's going to make you rich, or you're not really interested in, Forex trading. People are always trying to kind of sell you, and you try that because you think it can make you rich quickly. And if you try all these get rich quick schemes, you waste all your time, and you could have actually been doing something you could have got really good at and could have been genuinely useful to the world in the same amount of time, ironically.
Yeah, I think it's a case of finding something and then getting really good at it, and ethically knowing what you're doing is right as well. And if you are setting up a business only to make money and nothing else, I think it will fail. You know, but if that passion, and like for me, it's sales. Like if it's something good and I believe in it, like, you know, I could sell it all day. And
that's right. Neil Gaiman, the author, said whenever I've taken on a project just for the money, it's always turned into a disaster, and I usually didn't even end up getting the money either.
Yeah, the heartache and profit. Let's play around with that. We're coming to the end of the show, John, and I've just one question that I've asked you, which I reached out to some people this week, and I asked a question. I'd love to get your thoughts on it. What has your life history taught you?
Oh God, how long have you got? I've had a long journey from being somebody who's I had a lot of challenges early on. I had medical problems as well as my dad dying, as I mentioned at the beginning, and so I took on this kind of learned helplessness thing, which humans can get when they're, you know, have a lot of kind of traumatic stuff to deal with, and so my life story has been about undoing that and learning that I have what you would call agency in the world. So a lot of natural entrepreneurs are born very sort of self-empowered, very ability to make shit happen. And that was not me at all. I was kind of the opposite. And but what that does mean is I've learned along the way how to help other people do that, who are not necessarily natural entrepreneurs. Maybe they're creative, but they don't necessarily think about money, and they're not the most kind of kick-ass, get up at 6, work for 18 hours kind of person. I'm very good at helping those people to have confidence in themselves, do what they want to do, market it effectively, and make a really good living out of it.
Yeah.
So I think that's my life experience has been difficult times when I was younger. It's very much informed everything that I do, and it's made me a better writer because it made me reflect on life and what life is really about.
Yeah, I think with life is, for me, I'm a night owl, so don't ask me to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. My wife is up at 6:30 in the morning, and she goes for a walk, and then before the day and before the kids, and you know, I can't go to bed before midnight. You know, but I will happily work at a project till 2 in the morning. But,
well, I've got an interview I did a podcast for a while called The Ideas Lab, and I've got an interview with a chap called Daniel Pink, who's a well-known author, and that's all about being a night owl or a lark or an owl, or a third bird, he calls it. And you can analyze yourself because he wrote a book about it, and that's really interesting. Yeah, so you don't have to get up early to be successful. It's total nonsense.
My theory, which I'm checking, and I keep asking people, if you were born at night, you're a night owl, but if you were born in the morning, you're a morning person. And I'm always asking people, there's, you know, that time when you were actually born, and makes you what you are then. You know, or a very good social scene when you were in your 20s. You know? John, if someone wants to get your book, I know Simon is flying into London now next week, so he's going to pick up a book. I'm going to get him to get me a copy as well. So
yeah, well, you can get it on. You can get it online. You can get it in bookshops. If you want to find it, you can actually download some free stuff to help you with this kind of topic. If you go to the website, which is fworkletsplay.com, so FWORKLETSPLAY.com, and you can find out from there. You can find ways of contacting me, and I've got a free Facebook group where we talk about these topics every day of how to do what you love and get paid for it. So people are very welcome to join me in there and say hello and say you heard us on the program.
Excellent.
And yeah, that'd be great.
The other thing as well is a lot of people now are, you know, moving the books towards audio as well. Are you considering doing that yourself?
There's no audio book yet, but that's not my fault. It's because I believe Pearson are in negotiations with Amazon about audiobook rates. And as you imagine, Mr. Bezos is a very charitable person.
Oh, lovely. Yes, he is. It's
makes that conversation very easy, I'm sure.
There was a survey out here from the Broadcasting Association here in Ireland, and it's radio has jumped up to about 35-40% of people tuning in, and it's gone back to radio where there is the podcast, but audiobooks have jumped up as well, where people are listening to audiobooks if they're out running, or if they're on the radio and they want to switch it off, they're tuning into audiobooks to listen to.
No, I'm dying to do one. I mean, if anyone wants the audio version, if you kind of join the email list to the website, then I'll let you know as soon as the audio gets recorded, which I'm hoping to do myself.
Yeah, it's all changing. It's all changing.
Mm.
John Williams, thank you for coming on to Business Eye. It's been a pleasure having you on, and hopefully we'll have you on again at some time. And if anyone wants to reach out to you, they can connect with you on LinkedIn as well.
Sponsored by the Dunleary Rattown Local Enterprise Office. You're listening to Business Eye on Dublin South FM.
Yes, folks, and welcome back to Business Eye. That was a interesting show. John had lots of wisdom for yourselves to listen to, and Simon, unfortunately, had to break away and leave us. All I can say is we're coming into October. Yes, October. The clocks will be changing. Halloween will be coming, and then Santa will start working on those lists for all those wonderful, well-behaved children. Hope that you have a safe weekend. I hope that you're safe. I hope that you have an enjoyable time. And remember, look, don't worry about anything. Life is good. Remember what you have and be happy in your own thoughts. Until next week on Business Eye, from myself and Simon, take care and God bless. See you. Take care. Bye-bye.